All right, let's get ready to explore finance, but not in a place you'd typically think of. We're taking a deep dive into how Mauritius, yeah, that island paradise with the white sand beaches, actually became a global powerhouse when it comes to finance. Talk about some hidden depths, right?
Yeah, it is surprising, and their journey, it's really a masterclass in turning challenges into opportunities. You see, after gaining independence, Mauritius, while they knew they couldn't just rely on sugar and textiles forever, the world was changing and they needed to diversify. And they did it in a way that most wouldn't have predicted.
Okay, so picture this for me. You have this tiny island nation. I mean, it's literally a dot in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
And it decides to go up against these established financial giants. So what was their secret weapon?
They understood something that I think is really key. To attract those global investors, they needed to create a system that was both efficient and trustworthy. So they focused on two kind of key strategies. One, double taxation avoidance agreements, or DTAAs, and two, a really rock-solid regulatory framework.
DTAAs. Those sound a little complicated. Can you break it down for me a bit?
Okay, imagine you're a company and you want to invest in Africa. You'd have to pay taxes in both your home country and the country you're investing in.
Yeah, that sounds like a huge pain.
Exactly. But with the DTAA, Mauritius basically says, hey, invest through us and we'll work to minimize that double taxation.
Huh.
It's a win-win. Investors save money and Mauritius, they attract investment.
So it's not just about having those low taxes. It's really about like smart structuring that benefits everyone involved.
Precisely. And to make sure that everything stays above board, they created institutions like the Financial Services Commission, or FSC. Think of them like the financial watchdog. They're ensuring transparency, compliance with international standards.
Okay, but I think I know what you're going to say. I know some people hear offshore financial center, and they immediately think shady tax haven. How does Mauritius try to combat that image?
Well, it's true. That label has stuck to some jurisdictions. But Mauritius is different, I think. They go beyond just offering low taxes. They actually demand substance. You can't just set up a shell company and call it a day there.
No hiding money in a beach hut.
Not in Mauritius, no. Take their global business companies, or GBCs. To operate a GBC, you need to have a real presence on the island. Directors, employees, real economic activity.
So they're basically saying, if you want to play in our sandbox, you've got to build a real sandcastle, not just draw one in the sand.
That's a great analogy. And it's this commitment to transparency and substance that's really helped them build trust with investors and global institutions.
So they've got the smart tax structures, the regulatory muscle, but something tells me there's even more to this story.
You're right. They have another ace up their sleeve. Location, location, location.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. We'll have to dive into how Mauritius leveraged its geography to become a bridge between two continents another time. We're back and ready to uncover how Mauritius went from this tiny island to a major player connecting Africa and Asia. It's like they looked at a map and thought, I see an opportunity that maybe others are missing.
They did exactly that. It's more than just scenic. Their location right in the Indian Ocean, it's strategic. Mauritius sits at this crossroads, of these two booming continents, and they've really built themselves into this bridge for investment and collaboration.
Okay, so I'm picturing like a literal bridge in my head. But how does that actually work in the world of finance?
Well, remember those DTAAs we were talking about? Mauritius, what they've done is they've strategically woven this web of these agreements with nations all across Africa. So let's say a Chinese company wants to invest in infrastructure, maybe in Kenya. Routing that investment through Mauritius can really smooth out the tax implications, makes the whole process so much more efficient.
So they're almost like a financial translator. They're helping investors navigate all these different tax systems and legal frameworks.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it goes beyond just the technical stuff. Mauritius has cultivated, this deep understanding of what the African business landscape is like. They have that expertise to guide investors through each market's nuances.
But didn't I read somewhere that the tax treaty with India was revised? Does that mean Mauritius's role as a bridge is kind of weakening?
That's a great question, and it really highlights how Mauritius is constantly adapting. While the treaty with India has been updated, Mauritius still plays such a crucial role. They've diversified their connections, strengthening ties with other Asian giants like China and Singapore.
So even though that landscape is shifting, they're still a key player in facilitating those East-West connections.
Absolutely. Mauritius has built this reputation as a neutral and reliable partner. They're known for that stable political environment, the strong legal system based on English common law, and they have a really skilled workforce that is fluent in multiple languages.
Hold on. You're telling me the people are a big part of this success story.
Without a doubt. You can have all the best tax structures, the best regulations in the world, but it's really the human element that makes a difference. Mauritius invested a lot in education and training to create this highly skilled workforce, and they're comfortable, they can operate in a globalized financial environment.
So it's not just about attracting investors, it's about having the talent locally to support those investments and provide
Yeah.
really high-quality services.
Exactly. And this emphasis on human capital, it's one of the things that makes Mauritius so different from some of those other financial centers. They've been able to blend that financial expertise with this welcoming culture that really emphasizes personal relationships and trust.
It's funny. You think of high finance and you kind of imagine these cutthroat, impersonal dealings. But in Mauritius, it sounds like there's that human touch that's really valued.
That's one of the things that makes them unique. They understand that building those long-term relationships is key to success in the financial world.
But while they're focused on personal connections, they're not ignoring this digital revolution, right? The world's changing fast, and technology is transforming finance as we know it.
Yeah, you're right. And this is where Mauritius is showing its forward-thinking approach. They're actively embracing fintech, regtech, all those buzzwords you hear about.
Okay, buzzwords aside, what are they actually doing to stay ahead of the curve? Can you break that down?
Think of it this way. Fintech is about using technology to make financial services more efficient and accessible. So things like mobile banking, online payment platforms, even AI-powered investment advice. Mauritius is encouraging innovation in these areas, creating this fertile ground for fintech startups to thrive.
And RegTech, is that about making sure all this new tech is playing by the rules?
Exactly. RegTech uses technology to streamline compliance and regulatory processes, helps companies navigate that complex world of financial regulations and make sure everything is above board and transparent. And the FSC, Mauritius's financial watchdog, they're playing a key role in fostering responsible innovation in both these areas.
So they're striking that balance between fostering innovation and making sure things are still stable, ensuring that the financial system is dynamic but also trustworthy.
Yeah, that's a great way to summarize it. And that approach, it's attracting this whole new generation of investors that are looking for a financial center that's both cutting edge and reliable.
It really sounds like they've got all the pieces in place.
Yeah.
But even with the best technology, the best regulations, there's one thing you can't manufacture, and that's stability.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. All of this success wouldn't even be possible without that solid foundation of good governance and political stability.
This is where Mauritius's long history of democracy and commitment to the rule of law comes into play, right?
Precisely. Investors need to know that their investments are protected, that contracts will be honored, and that the legal system is fair, transparent. Mauritius has a proven track record on all those fronts,
Oh.
and it's a major draw for international investors.
So it's not just about the beaches and the sunshine. It's about creating this stable and predictable environment where businesses can thrive and investors can feel confident.
Exactly. And that focus on good governance is also evident in how Mauritius is positioning itself for the future of finance.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our journey, exploring Mauritius's incredible rise in the financial world. We've seen how they use smart strategies, they've built trust, they've even bridged continents. But the big question is, what's next? How do they stay relevant when the global landscape is constantly shifting?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. It's not enough anymore to just offer tax efficiency and stability. The world is kind of demanding more, especially from these financial centers.
Okay, so what kind of more are we talking about here? What are some of those challenges that Mauritius needs to tackle head on?
I think one of the biggest is this: the increasing scrutiny on tax practices worldwide. Initiatives like the OECD's BEPS project, base erosion and profit shifting, they're really cracking down on any loopholes that allow companies to avoid paying their fair share.
So even though Mauritius has always emphasized substance over shell companies, they still need to prove that they're playing by those new, even stricter rules.
Exactly. It's about, staying ahead of the curve, demonstrating that their system is transparent, it's aligned with all those global standards of fairness. Remember that treaty with India we talked about earlier? Those revisions were partly driven by all these global pressures.
Yeah, that makes sense. But adapting to regulations is one thing. But how do they actively attract investors in this new landscape? What would you say is their, unique selling point?
Well, I think they're going beyond just the basics, right? Mauritius is really becoming a hub for some of these more sophisticated financial services. Think high quality fund administration, complex intellectual property structures,
Yeah.
or maybe comprehensive family office services. It's the kind of stuff that wealthy individuals and corporations are looking for.
So it's almost like they're moving up the value chain, offering more specialized services that require like a deeper level of expertise and trust.
Exactly. And there's one area in particular where Mauritius is making, I think, a really smart bet, and that's ESG, environmental, social, and governance factors.
Ah, ESG. It seems like it's everywhere these days. Investors aren't just chasing profits. They want to know that their money is also making a positive impact.
Exactly. And Mauritius is, well, it's perfectly positioned to become a leader in this whole sustainable finance thing. They've got the stable political environment, that robust regulatory framework, and I think the really forward-thinking mindset to attract investors who are looking to do good while they're doing well.
So we could be seeing more green bonds, more social impact funds, more companies setting up shop in Mauritius, specifically because of their commitment to sustainability.
Absolutely. It's about aligning their financial services with the values of a new generation of investors. And it's a move that could pay off big time in the long run.
It all ties back to what we've been discussing throughout this whole deep dive. Mauritius understood that they couldn't just be another island with low taxes. They had to build a system based on trust, transparency, and a genuine commitment to all those global best practices.
And they haven't been afraid to adapt and evolve as the world is changing around them. It's that agility that's going to determine their future success.
So looking back at this incredible journey, it's clear that Mauritius has really pulled off something remarkable. They went from, a sugar-producing island to a global financial hub. And they did it by being strategic, adaptable, and really always focused on building that long-term value.
They've proven that even a small nation can really punch above its weight when it comes to the world of finance. I think it's a reminder that innovation and success can come from some pretty unexpected places.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely adding Mauritius to my list of places to visit. And maybe not just for the beaches anymore.
Well, that about wraps up our exploration of Mauritius's financial success story. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for this island nation and the unique role it plays in the global economy.
And if this deep dive has kind of sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to keep exploring. This world of international finance is just full of fascinating stories and unexpected connections. Who knows what hidden gem we'll uncover next time? Until then, happy investing.